Welcome to the video dealing with the last part as well as our discussion about the floral morphology is concerned. That's about the thalamus. And as we have already discussed in our previous videos, thalamus is the bulged, broad portion above the pedicel on which the floral organs develop. So, what is the definition of thalamus? It's the swollen, broad part of the flower, which is the tip of the pedicel on which the other floral organs are arranged, or you could also say that it's on which the other floral organs. So that's the petals, the sepals, of course, the whole of Androphore and Gynophore develop. So it's the tip of the pedicel, and of course it's also the organ, the floral organ on which the other floral parts develop. So that's about thalamus. Now we look on to different morphological features of thalamus, and we start with how now there could be internodes in thalamus, and based on the presence of internodes, so thalamus modifications can be classified into three. The first one is Anthopore. So what exactly is Anthopore? Anthopore is a elongated internode between the calyx and corolla. So note the point. Anthopore is a thalamus modification. It's the elongated internode between the calyx and corolla. The second type of modification is what is called Androphore. And in Androphore, it's also an elongated internode, but here it's between the corolla and androecium. So it's an elongated internode between the corolla and androecium. And going on to the third, it's called the Gynophore. Gynophore, that elongation is between the androecium and the gynoecium. And lastly, in this particular division, we are looking at the examples. Anthopore, it's the silene. Androphore, it's passiflora, and Gynophore, it's Clio. So this is the classification of thalamus based on the internodes. And now let's look at as far as the examination point of view is concerned. Let's look at two important terms related to morphological features of thalamus. First one is Gynanodrophore. Gynanodrophore is basically an axial prolongation. That's a prolongation through an axis, so which is having both the androecium and gynoecium. So that kind of axial growth, which consists of both the androecium and gynoecium, is what is called Gynanodrophore. And a famous example is Clio. So that's about Gynanodrophore. And a second term which we shouldn't forget is Carpophore. And here, interestingly, the thalamus, which is the part on which the other floral organs develop, the thalamus is prolonged to the gynoecium, and it forms a central axis. So the thalamus forms a central axis in the part consisting of the gynoecium. So that's what is called Carpophore. So a very famous example of Carpophore is coriander. So Gynanodrophore example is Clio, and Carpophore, it's coriander. Now we are going to a very important section as far as the NEET biology paper is concerned. It's dealing with the classification of thalamus based on how it is positioned with respect to the other floral organs. It's very important. So we know that thalamus is the part on which the floral organs develop. So the development of the other floral organs could be in such a manner that it could be something like inferior or superior to thalamus. So that's the kind of things we are looking at. We are beginning with the first division, which is called Hypogyny. And as the diagram indicates, the most important point here is that the ovary is superior in the sense that you can see that on the thalamus, which is quite flattened looking, you have the ovary, and you can clearly see that the sepals, the petals, stamens, all of those parts are coming from below the level of the ovary. That's below the level of the ovary. That's the key point. That's why in this case we are calling it a superior ovary. So note the point, superior ovary is a key point about hypogyny. And of course the thalamus is usually convex or conical. So once again repeating, the ovary, the superior position of the ovary is a characteristic key feature of hypogyny, and the famous examples in this particular case are mustard, petunia, shooflower, of course that's hibiscus, and brinjal. So note the important points about hypogyny and the especially the position of the ovary. Now we are going to the second division as far as the position of the thalamus related to other floral organs are concerned. And here from the diagram itself we can see that the position of the ovary is quite different. This is the case which is called the half inferior ovary, and we'll be coming into the details of which we'll be coming into shortly. The diagram clearly indicates that the ovary is something like the thalamus is forming something like a cup, and the ovary is developing from the bottom of the cup. That is, the ovary is quite inferior. In fact, technically it's called half inferior. This is one of the cases of the second division, which is called perigyny. So let's look at what is the important features of perigyny. So here the thalamus forms the hypanthium, which is called the floral cup, and the important points is that first thing is there are three divisions to perigyny. That is, first one is what is called the disc-like. So this is one of the case of perigyny where the ovary is superior. In the other two cases it's half inferior. So disc-like is superior ovary. Two important examples are P and cassia. The second subdivision is cup-shaped, that is half inferior. And important examples are plum and peach. And the third example of which the diagram is given here is the case in which the thalamus is flask-shaped. And that is what is called half inferior ovary. That's the HIO indicates that half inferior ovary, and a classical case is that of rose. Going on to the third case, the third and final case as far as the division of thalamus based on the position of other floral organs are concerned, we have what is called epigynous. Here it's interesting in the sense that not only the ovary is inferior, but it's actually fused with the thalamus. So that's an interesting development where the ovarian wall is fused with the thalamus. So you can see that once again the thalamus is quite flask-shaped. The ovary is developing from the bottom of this flask-shaped thalamus, but not only developing from the bottom, but the ovary is developing in such a manner that it's fused with the thalamus. That's a key point. So epigynous basically means that we have the flask-like thalamus which is fusing with the ovary. So note that point, that fusing of thalamus with ovary is a key point about epigynous thalamus development. So thalamus and ovary are fused, and So note that point. That is the key feature of Epigynous, and we have some very famous examples here, which we'll be looking shortly. So it's a what was the definition of Epigynous? So in a sentence, it can be called a flask-like thalamus which is fused with the ovary. So that's a key definition of Epigynous. And naturally, obviously the ovary is inferior. So that's quite clear. The ovary is inferior. So in this last division, that is Epigynous, the ovary is inferior. So the famous examples are apple, sunflower, cucumber, and guava. So this is the last division of this particular kind of thalamus. And the next video will be looking at a very important portion, in a manner a sure question portion as far as NEET Biology is concerned, and that's about fruits. And in the next video, it'll be dealing with an introduction to fruit. What exactly is a fruit, and the characteristic features of fruit development. So that's the thing which we'll be looking into. And of course, thanks for watching.